All right, y'all. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. It is September the 10th, day 256 of year 3 of reading through the laws and the prophets and of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 925. Today, we're going to finish up the book of Micah. We're not finishing up the book of Micah. I forget how many chapters Micah has. Then we start with Micah chapter 4. All right, y'all. Then we're going to pick up in Caesar's Messiah, where we left off at yesterday on page 101. Moving today. Robert, probably shalom, everybody. Mom, shalom, shalom. YouTube. Okay, let's put this on. Get started. Really, so I can get more of the reading done today. All right, y'all. Oh, Nathaniel, peaceful greetings. The Shema is found in Deuteronomy chapter 6. We start at verse 3. Remember, take the time to read through the whole chapter because I just kind of gave you the gist of everything, the meat and the potatoes, right? Okay. Hear, therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily, as Yahuwah, the mighty one of our fathers, has promised us in a land that flows with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel, Yahuwah, our mighty one, he is one. And you shall love Yahuwah, your mighty one, with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart. And you shall teach them diligently unto your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes, and you shall write them upon the posts of your house and on your gates. And Yahuwah commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear Yahuwah, our mighty one, for our good always, that he might preserve us alive, as it is at this day. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before Yahuwah, our mighty one, as he has commanded us. Trina, hey girl, hey. Okay, y'all. Pull this up over here. Go to Bible Gateway. Micah. All right, y'all. Using a New Living Translation. Yahuwah's future reign. Am I whispering this morning? Am I whispering? Am I low? Hold on, let me check my volume. I wasn't trying to whisper. Sorry if I am. Okay, let me talk a little bit loud. Make sure your volume up. Okay, Micah chapter 4. Yahuwah's future reign. In the last days, the mountains of Yahuwah's house will be the highest of all, the most important place on the earth. It will be raised above the other hills, and people from all over the world will stream there to worship. People from many nations will come and say, "Come, let us go up to the mountain of Yahuwah, the house of Jacob's God. There he will teach us his ways, and we will walk in his paths." Yahuwah's teaching will go out from Zion, and his word will go out from Jerusalem. Yahuwah will meditate between peoples and will settle disputes between strong nations far away. They will hammer their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nations will no longer fight against nation, nor train for war anymore. Everyone will live in peace and prosperity, enjoying their own grapevines and fig trees, for there will be nothing to fear. Yahuwah, the God of heaven's armies, has made this promise. Though the nations around us follow their idols, we will follow Yahuwah, our God, forever and ever. Israel's return from exile. Lisa, shalom. Bonnie, shalom, says. In that coming day, says Yahuwah, I will gather together those who are lame, those who have been exiles, and those whom I have filled with grief. Those who are weak will survive as a remnant. Those who were exiles will become a strong nation. Then I, Yahuwah, will rule from Jerusalem as their king forever. As for you, Jerusalem, the citadel of Yahuwah's people, your royal might and power will come back to you again. The kingship will be restored to my precious Jerusalem. But why are you now screaming in terror? Have you no king to lead you? All your wise people died? Pain has gripped you like a woman in childbirth, writhe and groan like a woman in labor, you people of Jerusalem. For now you must leave this city to live in the open country. You will soon be sent into exile to distant Babylon, but Yahuwah will rescue you there. He will redeem you from the grip of your enemies. Now, many nations have gathered against you. Let her be desecrated, they say. Let us see the destruction of Jerusalem. But they do not know Yahuwah's thoughts or understand his plan. These nations don't know that he is gathering them together to be beaten and trampled like sheaves of grain on a threshing floor. Rise up and crush, rise up and crush the nations, O Jerusalem, says Yahuwah. For I will give you iron horns and bronze hooves, so you can trample many nations to pieces. You will present their stolen riches to Yahuwah, their wealth to Yahuwah, the Lord of all the earth. Next chapter, Micah chapter 5. Mobilize, marshal your troops. The enemy is laying siege to Jerusalem. They will strike Israel's leader in the face with a rod, a ruler from Bethlehem. But you, O Bethlehem, if Ephrathah, I screwed that up. But you, O Bethlehem, Ephrathah, are only a small village among all the people of Judah. Yet a ruler of Israel, whose origins are in the distant past, will come from you on my behalf. The people of Israel will be abandoned to their enemies until the woman in labor gives birth. Then, at last, his fellow countrymen will return from exile to their own land, and he will stand to lead his flock with Yahuwah's strength, in the majesty of the name of you, in the majesty of the name of Yahuwah, his God. Then his people will live there undisturbed, for he will be highly honored around the world, and he will be the source of peace. And when the Assyrians invade our land and break through our defenses, we will appoint 7 rulers to watch over us, 8 princes to lead us. They will rule Assyria with drawn swords and enter the gates of the land of Nimrod. He will rescue us from the Assyrians when they pour over the borders to invade our land. The remnant purified. Then the remnant left in Israel will take their place among the nations. They will be like dew sent by Yahuwah, or like rain falling on the grass, which no one can hold back and no one can restrain. The remnant left in Israel will take their place among the nations. They will be like a lion among the animals of the forest, like a strong young lion among flocks of sheep and goats, pouncing and tearing as they go, with no rescuer in sight. The people of Israel will stand up to their foes, and all their enemies will be wiped out. And that day, says Yahuwah, I will slaughter your horses and destroy your chariots. I will tear down your walls and demolish your defenses. I will put an end to all witchcraft, and there will be no more fortune tellers. I will destroy all your idols and sacred pillars, so you will never again worship the work of your own hands. I will abolish your idol shrines with their Asherah poles and destroy your pagan cities. I will pour out my vengeance on all the nations that refuse to obey me. Last chapter for today, Micah chapter 6. Auntie Belinda Brown, shalom. Wholeness, Jake, shalom. Tiffany, did the whispering get fixed? Am I okay? All right. Yahuwah's calls against Israel. Listen to what Yahuwah is saying. Stand up and state your case against me. Let the mountains and hills be called to witness your complaints. And now, O mountains, listen to Yahuwah's complaint. He has a case against his people. He will bring charges against Israel. O my people, what have I done to you? What have I done to make you tired of me? Answer me. Hey, Isaiah, turn it down a little bit, please. For I brought you out of Egypt and redeemed you from slavery. I sent Moses, Aaron, and I sent Moses, Aaron, and Miriam to help you. Don't you remember, my people, how King Balak of Moab tried to have you cursed, and how Balaam, son of Beor, blessed you instead? And remember your journey from Acacia Grove to Gilgal, when I, Yahuwah, did everything I could to teach you about my faithfulness. What can we bring to Yahuwah? Should we bring him burnt offerings? Should we bow before God Most High with offerings of yearling calves? Should we offer him thousands of rams and 10,000 rivers of olive oil? Should we sacrifice our firstborn children to pay for our sins? No. O people, Yahuwah has told you what is good, and this is what he requires of you: to do what is right, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. Israel's punishment. Fear Yahuwah if you are wise. His voice calls to everyone in Jerusalem. The armies of destruction are coming. Yahuwah is sending them. What shall I say about the homes of the wicked, filled with treasures gained by cheating? What about the disgusting practice of measuring out grain with dishonest measures? How can I tolerate your merchants who use dishonest scales and weights? The rich among you have become wealthy through extortion and violence. Your citizens are so used to lying that their tongues can no longer tell the truth. Therefore, I will wound you. I will bring you to ruin for all your sins. You will eat, but never have enough. Your hunger pains and emptiness will remain. And though you try to save your money, it will come to nothing in the end. You will save a little, but I will give it to those who conquer you. You will plant crops, but not harvest them. You will press your olives, but not get enough oil to anoint yourselves. You will trample the grapes, but get no juice to make your wine. You keep only the laws of evil King Omri. You follow only the example of wicked King Ahab. Therefore, I will make an example of you, bringing you to complete ruin. You will be treated with contempt, mocked by all who see you. And that, my beautiful people, is our reading for today. Go ahead and get that early as I feel the sun coming in on my back. Shayla, that's wobbly. That's wobbly. Okay, y'all. So we're finishing up chapter 4 today, and we're gonna go on into chapter 5. Actually, we got 2 and like a third of the page left before we get into chapter 5. All right. Okay. All right, y'all. So we left off at the second paragraph yesterday on page 101. Further, knowing that the rebel leaders were transformed into the Christian apostles clarifies the intent the Romans had for their religion. The Romans wished not to merely destroy the militant brand of Messianic Judaism that spawned the rebellion, but to rewrite its history in such a way as to make both its Messiah and its leaders become the founders of Christianity. In this manner, the Romans intended to make the history of the Sakari movement disappear by having its beliefs and key figures become the history of their new religion. Hey, y'all get out of there. Cut the light off, Bella. We are also able to understand the plight of John, the leader who was imprisoned by the Romans and was satirized as Apostle John and the demoniac of Gadara. Both Josephus and the authors of the New Testament often made reference to the fact that they wrote the truth. I believe that they were sincere in this claim, but required the reader to understand the code that they wrote the truth in. Therefore, I believe that John, after coming out of the tombs and coming to his right mind, did cooperate with the Romans and publish Christian literature from Decapolis. The ending of the Gospel of John specifically identifies the John whom Jesus spared as its author. Understanding that the Apostle John and the demoniac of Gadara were both lampoons of John, who was along with Simon a leader of the Jewish rebellion, enabled me to see the real meaning of the following statement concerning the demoniac of Gadara. Quote, and he departed and began to publish in Decapolis how great things Jesus had done for him, and all men did marvel. End quote. And that's reference 85, and you'll find it in the index. The passage indicates that John, a leader of the rebellion, was taken to Decapolis, where he provided the Romans with details of the messianic movement that were used in creating the New Testament. John was used by the Romans to help create the literature that poisoned the future of his own people. The Romans then recorded their use of John, anticipating that those in the future who would learn the truth regarding Christianity's origin would appreciate such irony. Quote, this is the disciple who is bearing witness to these things and who has written these things, and we know that his testimony is true. End quote. That's reference 86. This conversion by the rebel leader John to Christianity also explains the two Simons' different surnames. The Simon who was condemned at the end of the New Testament is called Simon Bar Jonah, while the Simon who was condemned at the conclusion of Titus's campaign is named Simon Bar Gioras. Jonas or Jonah is simply the Hebrew for John. Once again, the name switching technique indicating that Simon was the son of John. Gioras, Gioras, I might have pronounced that wrong. Gioras means the convert in Hebrew. Thus, the rebel Simon's full name was Simon, the son of the convert, a satirical synonym for Simon, the son of John, because John had become a convert to the new religion. The fact that John was Simon's father also fulfills another innocuous prophecy found within the New Testament. Quote, from now on, 5 in one household will be divided, 3 against 2, and 2 against 3. They will be divided, father against son, son against father. End quote. That's reference 87. Josephus records that at the beginning of the siege of Jerusalem, Simon and John waged a violent struggle for control of the city, both against one another and against the leader of yet another faction named Eleazar. Reference 88. Wars of the Jews contains a clear theme regarding the Jews destroying themselves that go into more depth elsewhere. I conclude this chapter by pointing out that throughout Christianity's history, Jesus' words have been interpreted as the very essence of love. My analysis indicates that this is, at times, a complete misunderstanding, albeit one that was deliberately brought about. The Jesus who was speaking to Simon in John 21 did not have love in his heart. What was in his heart can be known by rereading the passage with the understanding that Jesus was describing what Titus would do to Simon, the captured leader of the Jewish rebellion. When these words are read as an address to a man who would be taken to Rome and tortured to death, what was in Jesus' heart is truly revealed. As John the Baptist states, Jesus did not come to baptize with water, but with fire. Quote, truly, truly, I say to you, when you were young, you girded yourselves and walked where you would. But when you are old, you will stretch out your hands, and another will gird you and carry you where you do not wish to go. This he said to show by what death he was to glorify God. And after this, he said to him, follow me. End quote. And that's fine in John 21, verses 18 through 19. Tony J, hey, better late than never, right? All right, chapter 5, the Flavian Signature. Yes, yes.
They're trying to touch your plant.
Okay, as long as he's not hurting the plant, that's fine.
You took the skin off.
Isaiah,
I was already dead.
Oh, okay. Well, Bella, he was just pruning. He didn't take the skin off the plant.
Look at it.
I see it, sis. He was pruning it. That's okay. But don't just rip pieces of the plant off if it's not dead. He was just pruning. Okay, that's fine. I don't mind that he does that. Okay. The Flavian Signature. I showed above that a number of parallels from different gospels had been typologically mapped out into Josephus's history of the Flavians' Judean campaign. In this chapter, I showed that a contiguous block, is that right? Contiguous? I think that's the right word. In this chapter, I will show that a contiguous block of text from Luke was typologically linked to a contiguous section of Josephus's history. In fact, virtually all of the events of Jesus' Galilean ministry in that gospel were typological representations of events of the Flavian military campaign. The events in the gospel were mapped to Titus's campaign in the same sequence that Josephus recorded them. One conclusion that falls out of this analysis is that the gospel's character, Jesus Christ, was completely fictional. I wish to note that there is much more to the typological symbolism in Luke than I present in this short overview. And let me just say right here, real quick, just for people who still is not quite getting this, that have experienced the power of Jesus, but it wasn't necessarily his power, y'all. I know most of you here know that, but just in case some people, they still can't quite understand this, but they still kind of lurking behind the scenes just to figure out where all this is going because they're not quite sure, but they know something is amiss, but they still can't seem to write it all off because the personal power that they've experienced in their life from using the name Jesus. Let me explain to you what has happened. I did just a little bit yesterday. It's not that power has that. I'm sorry, that power. You can call it a power. It's not that the name. I know this may sound like complete blasphemy, but listen to my whole statement. What I'm about to say. It's not that the name of Jesus has power, right? Because anything good that comes to us, it comes from our Father, from our Creator, always Yahuwah and Yahuwah alone. And it doesn't matter that we're ignorant to what his name is. But when we are ignorant to that fact, he understands that, right? It's just it's like we are complete babies when we're doing that because that's all we knew and we think is right. You can liken it to a toddler or something, not really knowing how to pronounce names and not necessarily remembering the name of the person. Bless you. Like sometimes, like when we would go to different places and there's other little kids around, they hear my children calling me mom. Although I am not their mom, they will also call me mom, mom, mom. Baby, that's not my name. Although you don't say that to little kids because you know that they're addressing you. Even if a little child calls you by your wrong name, we ain't talking about adults, right? Because if you're doing that as adults, you may have heard wrong or you, okay, but we're going to correct you, right? We'll even correct babies, but sometimes we kind of understand we have grace with smaller children, right? And they may call you, hey, Pat. Like, my name is Pam. I ain't going to go in on the toddler because they calling me Pat, right? They may not be able to fully, pronounce their words yet, or they may not understand, or they may not remember what my name is. So I ain't going to go in on them, but I know that they are addressing me, right? So I'm not going to completely ignore them, although they're calling me by the wrong name, because I know that they're calling to me. They're crying out to me. So I'm going to answer them. And it's the same way with the name of Jesus. Although we were ignorant, let me say, Yahuwah knows that in our mind, we thought that that name is synonymous with him and who he is, although it is not. So when we call on that name and we still get power or our prayers are answered, it's not because of that name. It's because Yahuwah knows you and knew you were talking to him, even though you were addressing him by the wrong name. Yes, baby. And they look like they're on the wrong way, sis. Yeah, they don't know. Your feet are going this way. Switch the skates, boo. You got them on the wrong way. and be careful. So that's how it is. That's how I understand it to be. And some people, that's why I don't really fight with people about it anymore. I try to explain it, but if they want to keep on doing it, okay, I ain't gonna, because if you are answering you, but it gets to a certain point, especially when you get older and who is trying to grow you up. It comes to a point where it may not have so much power that it used to have because who is trying to grow you up. And it's not going to work for you as fast and as much as it did because he requires you to grow, right? I couldn't use that name now. Like it's impossible for me to get any kind of response by using that name. And I wouldn't even dare use that name because now I know that is not his name. Before, when I was ignorant of who he was, although I knew he was there. I didn't know his name. That's why the people that come say, okay, well, what should I tell them your name is? Right? So we can know that we're identifying and calling on you. My name is Yahuwah forever, right? I am who I will be. All that you need, I am, right? But I am is not my name. My name is Yahuwah. And tell them that's my name for all generations. We're considered to be in all generations. So we address him by his name. Just like you would get an answer from him, even if I don't necessarily call on his name and I call him Father. Or I say Abba. Or I be like, Most Holy One. He knows that I am addressing him, right? Other people may not know. But the good thing about this is not that I know him, but that he knows me, right? Because if it was the other way around, we might be in some trouble. We might, and a lot of people that still call on the name Jesus might really be in some trouble. But it's good that he knows you because even in your ignorance, when you're crying out to him, even by the wrong name until you grow up, it's just like an adult answering a toddler. Yes, baby. Because I know you're calling to me. I know you're trying to get my attention, right? I'm not going to ignore you just because you don't quite understand that yet.
No, I'm not calling you.
I'm giving an example, Tootie. Oh, skating around here in roller skates with blueberries. Okay, I just wanted to say that because quite a few people they ask me that, and I get some emails and stuff, and I try to explain it, So I hope that makes sense, y'all. Okay. I wish to note, Tootie, try not to make so much noise. I wish to note that there is much more to the typological symbolism in Luke than I present in this short overview. My goal here is only to provide a clear enough understanding of the Luke Josephus typology so as to leave no doubt that the sequence was created to be the Flavian's signature of their authorship of the Gospels. You got it?
Too much.
Okay, well, when you're done with what you're going to eat, just stick it in the freezer. Okay. Be careful.
Dark?
Yeah, the freezer is dark. Oh. Okay, she's rolling out the kitchen. Hey, Jerry Shalom. I spell it with the vowels, Yahuwah, Yahuah. Some people actually spell it with the oo, with the oo, because the u makes the oo. Some people actually spell it Yahooah by actually enunciating the name. They spell it the way it, and it's not really so much about the spelling; it's the pronunciation of it, right? But I spell it by default. I just spell it Yahuah. Some people you will see they spell it Yahooah, right? Some people don't use the H on the end, but as long as you can get the pronunciation right, some people say Yehovah, but that's using like one O sound. It's not really Yehovah, it's Yahuwah, right? Because remember the U is like well, in the KJV they use a V, right? But we know that when they used the V, they didn't have U's yet. But so the V actually made the U sound. That's what people kind of get tripped up, where they say Jehovah or Yahweh. They're not understanding that part, right? So that V was like there for it should have been a U, but because they didn't have U's, they just put a V. But the pronunciation was still right. But if you didn't have somebody explaining that to you, you just read it, you would pronounce it with a V, right? But it's not with a V. And that's the the anagram YHUH, or some people do YHVH, but the V, remember the V is a U. It's a double U. It makes a double U sound. Matter of fact, that's where it was. Some people do it the YHWH, right? So the W was not either, it wasn't a W either. It was a double V. They didn't have the U, and they didn't have the U, and because it was a double ooh sound, they put two V's, which is where you got the double U, right? But people look at it as a double V. They done created a whole nother letter. They misinterpreted what was being done with this. It was two letter V's that they put together, and they just condensed it and made it one new letter and made it a double U. They named it right, a double U, right? A double U. Instead of just putting two U's or two O's, they put the two V's together and called it a double U. Instead of just putting the two U's or two O's. I hope that makes sense, right? So people spell it different ways, but the proper pronunciation is Yahoo or Yahoo. Well, some people enunciate it like that, Yahoo. So you can make sure you get the ooh sound, right? Okay. I don't want to be the good. Okay, but that's how. The typological sequences were designed as a barcode for posterity, showing that the Flavians wrote the Gospels, thereby ending Christianity and beginning the era of their legacy. The authors deliberately made the entrance to the Jesus Titus typology difficult to spot. In Luke, the first event of Jesus' ministry is actually his battle at the brow of a hill near Nazareth, followed by a puzzle that reveals the real identity of Mary Magdalene. However, these parallels will be set aside for now and decoded towards the end of this chapter after the reader has gotten a better sense of the overall typological pattern. Okay. The Jesus Titus typological connections I begin with are listed in the table below. Notice that in their ministries, Jesus and Titus went to the same places in the same sequence. This is suspicious on its face, but has not caught the attention of the New Testament scholarship. And we're about to list all of these. It's 34 of them. And then he's going to go into details about all of them. Yes, babe.
Mom, look.
Okay. What did you pour in that?
Huh?
What did you pour in that?
It's not me, it's just me.
What did you pour in that?
No.
Put that in the refrigerator. Put it in the freezer. Put it in the freezer. Okay. The first section is Galilee, and it's 12 of them. Number 1, fishing for men at the Sea of Galilee. And this is showing how Titus and Jesus did all of these same exact things in the same exact order, right? You're welcome, Jerry. Galilee, number 1, fishing for men at the Sea of Galilee. Number 2, easier to say get up and walk than your sins are forgiven. Number 3, keep holy the Sabbath by restoring the right hand. Number 4, cast out the supporters of the Son of Man. Number 5, John possessed by a demon.
This is where I eat.
Number 6, the legion of demons. Number 7, demons infect another group. Number 8, the herd ran violently. Number 9, the herd drowned. Number 10, identification of the Son of the living God. Number 11, binding and loosing. Number 12, he who does not follow with us but cast out demons. The next section is the similarities between Titus and Jesus on the road to Jerusalem. Number 13, on to Jerusalem, the messengers are sent ahead. Number 14, don't bury your dead or look back. Number 15, the Good Samaritan. Then the next section is out of Jerusalem. Number 16, knocking on the door. Number 17, the house of Satan divided against itself. Number 18, man in armor who will be overcome. Number 19, the crowds increase. Number 20, lying in wait. Number 21, the woe saying Jesus. Number 24, innocent beaten worse than the guilty. Number 23, divide the group 3 for 2. Number 24, cut down the fruit tree. Number 25, the narrow gate and the shut door. Number 26, how to build a tower. Number 27, send a delegation. The next section is inside the city. Number 28, the triumphal. Bella, what are you doing? What are you doing? Go skate through there because you're making too much noise in here.
No one cannot skate with me.
Well, nobody else is going to skate with you. Everybody else is too big to skate in the house. And we probably shouldn't let her skate in the house either. All right? I get it, all right? It's our house. But she's working on her skating skills, y'all. We bought her skate, so she got a smooth surface here. But she is kind of loud. Okay. The triumph, y'all must think is a wild kingdom over here. And sometimes it is. But, okay. All right, inside the city. Number 28, the triumphal entrance and the stones that cried out. Number 29, Jerusalem encircled with a wall. Number 30, drive out the thieves from the temple. Number 31, the abomination of desolation. This sequence in Luke then continues with the events in the Gospels that were linked to Titus's campaign that were already covered. Number 32, son of Mary, who was a human Passover lamb. Outside of Jerusalem. Number 33, 3 crucified, 1 survives, taken down by Joseph of Arimathea. Number 34, Simon condemned, John spared. In the analysis of parallels, I have included the citations of the passages so that the reader may follow along with the precise sequence of the typological mapping. All right, so it's going back to number 1, and each one of these ones that I just gave, which we probably will still be reading through this sequence by the end of the reading because we got like 30 more minutes. It's going through every single one of these, just in case you missed it when we were going over it before in the earlier chapters. Okay, Galilee, number 1, fishing for men at the Sea of Galilee. Josephus and Luke each record a catching of men at the Sea of Galilee. The typological linkage is obvious and covered in depth in chapter 2 above. Excuse me. I think you're making noise on purpose because you're just opening up cabinets and banging them. You slamming stuff. I'm going to get up and I'm going to get you. Close my refrigerator. When your stuff is done, go in the dining room and eat.
I want to eat just some.
Tootie, you walking a fine line. Close it. Sorry, y'all. While at the Sea of Galilee, Jesus predicted that his followers would fish for men. Quote, from now on, you will catch men. End quote. And that's found in Luke chapter 5, verse 10. Titus's followers then fished for men on the Sea of Galilee. Quote, and for such as were drowning in the sea, if they lifted their heads up above the water, they were either killed by darts or caught by vessels. End quote. And you can find that in Wars of the Jews, number 3, 10, and page 5, 27. Those are the pages. Okay. Number 2, easier to say get up and walk than your sins are forgiven. Following the fishing for men passage in Luke, there is a story in which Jesus asks the question, which is easier to say, your sins are forgiven you or rise up and walk? This question is satirically answered by Josephus below. Notice in Luke's story that Jesus is established as a judge who can forgive, just as Vespasian is in the linked passage in Josephus. Below is the entire passage in Luke. Quote, then behold, men brought on a bed a man who was paralyzed, whom they sought to bring in and lay before him. And when they could not find how they might bring him in because of the crowd, they went up on the housetop and let him down with his bed through the tilling into the midst before Jesus. When he saw their faith, he said to him, man, your sins are forgiven you. And the scribes and the Pharisees began to reason, saying, who is this who speaks blasphemies? who can forgive sins but God alone? But when Jesus perceived their thoughts, he answered and said to them, why are you reasoning in your hearts? Which is easier to say, your sins are forgiven you, or to say, rise up and walk? But that you may know that the Son of Man has power on earth to forgive sins, he said to the man who was paralyzed, I say to you, arise, take up your bed, and go to your house. Immediately he rose up before them, took up what he had been lying on, and departed to his own house, glorifying God. And they were all amazed, and they glorified God and were filled with fear, saying, we have seen strange things today. End quote. And you can find that in Luke chapter 5, verses 18 through 26. Take that in the morning. Jesus' question is answered in a witty manner in Josephus' version of the story. Vespasian, who has the power on earth to forgive sins, was sitting in his tribunal seat wondering what punishment he should give to a group of rebellious Jews. His inclination is to spare them, but he is talked out of it by his commanders. He then provides an ironical answer to Jesus' question in Luke chapter 5. In other words, it was easier for Vespasian to say, rise and walk, than to forgive. The typology between the passage is a good example of both the rich wit and viciousness behind the Gospels. Jesus, hold on, let me read that again. The typology between the passages is a good example of both the rich, I'm sorry, blah, I'm getting tongue tied. One more time. The typology between the passages is a good example of both the rich wit and viciousness behind the Gospels, Jesus' character. Notice that the townspeople took their effects with them as they walked away, just as the paralytic did with his mat in Luke. Quote, after this fight was over, Vespasian sat upon his tribunal at Tarichea in order to distinguish the foreigners from the old inhabitants, for those foreigners appeared to have begun the war. So he deliberated with the other commanders whether he ought to save those old inhabitants or not. Vespasian acknowledged that they did not deserve to be saved, and that if they had leave given them to fly away, they would make use of it against those that gave them that leave. But still, he considered with himself after what manner they should be slain. For if he had slain them there, he suspected the people of the country would thereby become his enemies, for that to be sure they would never bear it, that so many that had been supplicants to him should be killed, and to offer violence to them after he had given them assurances of their lives, he could not himself bear to do it. However, his friends were too hard for him, so he permitted the prisoners to go along no other road than that which led to Tiberias with their effects. The Romans seized upon all the road that led to Tiberias, that none of them might go out of it, and shut them up in the city. Then came Vespasian and ordered them all to stand in the stadium, and commanded them to kill the old men together with the others that were useless, which were in number 1,200. End quote. And that's in Wars of the Jews, and you can find it on page 310, 532, and 532 through 539. All right, the third one on the list was keep holy the Sabbath by restoring the right hand. Continuing with the typological mapping, we next find a story in Luke that features the restoration of a right hand and a discussion of who knows best how to keep the Sabbath holy, Jesus or his accusers. Quote, now it happened on the second Sabbath after the first that he went through the grain fields, and his disciples plucked the heads of grains and ate them, rubbing them in their hands. And some of the Pharisees said to them, why are you doing what is not lawful to do on the Sabbath? But Jesus, answering them, said, have you not read this, what David did when he was hungry, he and those that were with him? How he went into the house of God, took and ate the showbread, and also gave some to those with him which is not lawful for any but the priest to eat. And he said to them, the Son of Man is also Lord of the Sabbath. Now it happened on another Sabbath also that he entered the synagogue and taught, and the man was there whose right hand was withered. So the scribes and the Pharisees watched him closely, whether he would heal on the Sabbath, that they might find an accusation against him. But he knew their thoughts, and he said to the man who had the withered hand, arise and stand here. And he arose and stood. Then Jesus said to them, I will ask you one thing. Is it lawful on the Sabbath to do good or to do evil, to save life or to destroy? And when he had looked around at all of them, he said to the man, stretch out your hand. And he did so, and his hand was restored as whole as the other. But they were filled with rage and discussed with one another what they might do to Jesus. End quote. And you can find that in Luke chapter 6, verses 1 through 11. Josephus then records a transparent and witty parallel to Luke chapter 6, verse 1 through 11. In Josephus's version, a group of rebels asked Titus to extend to them the right hand of Roman peace. Titus decides to save rather than destroy on the in the story. Titus is a parallel to Jesus in that, unlike the Jews, he was the one who really kept the Sabbath holy. Quote, now Titus, as he rode out to Gichala, Gischala. Y'all forgive me. I know I'll be screwing up some of these names and words, but bear with me. I'll spell it out for you. And if you got the right pronunciation, put it in there like the dictionary pronounce out words for you with the dashes so I can get it right. Now Titus, as he rode out to Gischala, found it would be easy for him to take the city upon the first onset, but knew withal that if he took it by force, the multitude would be destroyed by the soldiers without mercy. Now, he was already satiated with the shedding of blood and pitted the major part who would then perish without distinction together with the guilty. So he was rather desirous the city might be surrendered up to him on terms. Accordingly, when he saw the wall full of those men that were of the corrupted party, he said to them that he could not but wonder what it was they depended on when they alone stayed to fight the Romans after every other city was taken by them, especially when they have seen cities much better fortified than theirs is overthrown by a single attack upon them, while as many as have entrusted themselves to the security of the Romans' right hands, which he now offers to them without regarding their former insolence, do enjoy their own possessions in safety, for that while they had hopes of recovering their liberty. But John returned Titus this answer, that for himself he was content to hearken to his proposals, that he would either persuade or force those that refused him. So remember, just in case you forgot, they're trying to take over Jerusalem peacefully at this point, but you got the sect of the Hebrews and the Sakari who is not going for it. They don't want to worship their gods. They don't want to do all the things, the mixture and all this stuff. They said we have our own set of laws and rules. We're not doing it. We're not submitting to you. And Titus couldn't understand what caused them to stand so firm. That's what he was just saying. He said he wondered. What's the word he said? Um, It said, accordingly, when he saw the wall full of those men that were of the corrupted party, i.e., calling the Hebrews of the corrupted party, he said to them that he could not but wonder what it was that they depended on when they alone stayed to fight the Romans after every other city was taken by them, especially when they have seen cities much better fortified than theirs is overthrown by a single attack upon them, while as many as have entrusted themselves to the security of the Romans' right hands, which he now offers to them, without regarding their former insolence, do enjoy their own possessions in safety. For that while they had hopes of recovering their liberty. So he said, you go ahead and bow to our Roman rule. We'll forget about all your other insolence and how you've been standing and fighting against us in former times. just join us now. Sakari wasn't having it, right? They said, over our dead bodies, right? Which is eventually what happened because Rome was too powerful at that point. I'm still reading a quote from uh, not Legends, I keep saying Legends of the Jews, Wars of the Jews. They are two different books. But John returned Titus this answer, that for himself he was content to hearken to his proposals, and that he would either persuade or force those that refused them. Yet he said that Titus ought to have such regard to the Jewish law as to grant them leave to celebrate that day, which was the seventh day of the week, on which it was unlawful not only to remove their arms, but even to treat of peace also, and that even the Romans were not ignorant of how the period of the seventh day was among them a cessation from all labors, and that he who should compel them to transgress the law about that day would be equally guilty with those that were compelled to transgress it, and that this delay could be of no disadvantage to him. For why should anybody think of doing anything in the night unless it was to fly away or get away, run away, right? Fly away. For those of you not familiar with how that term is used, which he might prevent by placing his camp round about them, and that they should think it a great point gained if they might not be obliged to transgress the laws of their country, and that it would be a right thing for him who designed to grant them peace without their expectation of such a favor to preserve the laws of those they saved inviolable. Thus did this man put a trick upon Titus, not so much out of regard to the seventh day as to his own preservation, for he was afraid lest he should be quite deserted if the city should be taken, and had his hopes of life in that night and in his flight therein. Now this was the work of God. End quote. And that's found in Wars of the Jews, 4:292 through 104. Number 4, cast out the supporters of the Son of Man. Luke then goes on and describes individuals who try and promote the Son of Man, but are hated and cast out for their efforts. Quote, blessed are ye when men shall hate you, and when they shall separate you from their company, and shall reproach you and cast out your name as evil for the Son of Man's sake. End quote. Luke chapter 6:22. Josephus links to Luke 6 with a story of two pro-Roman priests, Jesus and Aeneas, who maintained the same vision of the future as the Jesus in the Gospels. They predict that if the Jews do not repent, they will be destroyed. In the lengthy story, the two priests attempt to turn the Jews away from the rebellion and back to the obedience to the true Son of Man, the Flavian Caesar. For their efforts, they were, as Jesus predicted in Luke 6:22, they were hated and cast out. Quote, I should not mistake if I said that the death of Aeneas was the beginning of the destruction of the city. He was a venerable and very just man, and besides the grandeur of that nobility and dignity and honor of which he possessed, he had been a lover of a kind of parity, even with regard to the meanness of the people. He was a prodigious lover of liberty and an admirer of a democracy in government, and did ever prefer the public welfare before his own advantage, and preferred peace above all things. For he was thoroughly sensible that the Romans were not to be conquered. He also foresaw that of necessity a war would follow, and that unless the Jews made up matters with them very dexterously, they would be destroyed. Jesus was also joined with him, and although he was inferior to him upon the comparison, he was superior to the rest. And I cannot but think that it was because God had doomed this city to destruction when they were cast out naked and seen to be the food of dogs and wild beasts. End quote. And that's in Wars of the Jews, 4, 5, and pages 318 through 324. Number 5, Josiah, shalom. John possessed by a demon. Continuing with the Luke Josephus typology, both authors describe John with a demon. The passage in Luke is important in that it shows the basis for the Gospel's character, John the Baptist. Within the typological pattern, it is clear that John the Baptist, like the Apostle John, is simply a type who foresees the rebel John of Gishala. I almost sound like T'Challa. Quote, "For John the Baptist has come eating no bread and drinking no wine, and you say he has a demon. The Son of Man has come eating and drinking, and you say, behold, a gluttonous man and a drunkard, a friend of tax collectors and sinners. Yet wisdom is vindicated by all her children." End quote. And that's Luke 7:33 through 35. To digress, the positive light of tax collectors in the passage from Luke above, and then in other passages in the Gospels, is Flavian humor. The Flavians were best known tax collectors. The Flavians were the best known tax collectors in Roman history. Josephus then describes a John who is possessed by a demon, though to understand this, the reader must be able to recall information Josephus has provided in another passage. Quote, "By this time, John was beginning to tyrannize and thought it beneath him to accept of barley the same honors that others had, and joining to himself by degrees a party of the wickedest of them all, he broke off from the rest of the faction. This was brought about by his still disagreeing with the opinions of others and giving out injunctions of his own in a very imperious manner, so that it was evident that he was setting up a monarchical power. Now some submitted to him out of their fear to him, and others out of their goodwill to him, for he was a shrewd man to entice men to him, both by deluding them and putting cheats upon them. Nay, many that thought they should be safer themselves, if the causes of their past insolent actions should now be reduced to one head, and not to a great many. Now, as it is in a human body, if the principal part be inflamed, all the members are subject to the same distemper." End quote. Wars of the Jews, 407, 389 through 391, and 407. Though he does not record them in the above passage, Josephus gives the specific details indicating that rebel leader John was a demoniac who, like the demoniac in the Gospels, unleashed thousands of demons into the countryside and other places in his text. This was a necessary obfuscation because, as readers may judge for themselves, if Josephus had included the above details indicating that John was a demoniac into his description of John that was followed by the battle of Gadara below, its connection to the gospel stories of a demoniac of Gadara would be so transparent that Christianity might not be a worldwide religion today. Notice that the definition of demons given by Josephus is the correct one for the word's usage in the Gospels. Whenever Jesus is curing a sickness or exorcising a demon, he is paralleling Titus's removing the demon of rebelliousness against Rome from Jewish rebels. Quote, "John filled the entire countryside with 10,000 instances of wickedness," end quote. Wars of the Jews, 7, 8, and 263. Quote, "Demons are no other than the spirit of the wicked," end quote. Wars of the Jews, 7, 6, and 185. Number 6, the legion of demons. Luke begins the sequence of events in the demoniac of Gadara, Gerasa, story with a description of a man possessed by a legion of demons. I address the confusion about the two different locations of the story given in the Gospels below. Quote, Then they sailed to a country of the Gadarenes, which is opposite Galilee. And when he stepped out on the land, there met him a certain man from the city who had demons for a long time, and he wore no clothes, nor did he live in a house, but in the tombs. And when he saw Jesus, he cried out, fell down before him, and with a loud voice said, what have I to do with you, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I beg you, do not torment me. For he had commanded the unclean spirit to come out of the man, for it had often seized him, and he was kept under the guard, bound with chains and shackles, and he broke the bonds and was driven by the demon into the wilderness. End quote. And that's Luke chapter 8, verses 26 to 29. Luke then describes a legion of demons inside the infected man. Quote, Jesus asked him, saying, what is your name? And he said, Legion, because many demons had entered him. End quote. That's Luke chapter 8, verse 30. Keeping a precise dual sequence in his version of the story, Josephus also identifies the size of the rebel force that had left John and ravaged the countryside as being a legion. That is to say, it was a group larger than a gang of thieves, but smaller than an army. Once again, the reader should note how transparent the parallel would be if Josephus had simply chosen to call the group a legion of thieves. Quote, yet were these men that now got together and joined in the conspiracy by parties too small for an army and too many for a gang of thieves. End quote.
Can I get one?
Girl, go put them back. Those are Dad's. Go put them back.
Look, Mom. Are you gonna need some hot dogs?
Sis, give me a few minutes. Go put it back in my refrigerator. And that's found in Wars of the Jews 4, 7, and 408. Number 7. Where we at? And this will be the last one we read for the day, y'all. We're going to have to pause right here. But we on number 7, and we got, how many was it? 34. So for the next couple days, I'm guessing, although tomorrow's Saturday, we might get through the rest of them. We might. Then again, I don't know. But we on number 7. Demons infect another group. Luke then states that the demons that left the man infected another group. Quote, and they begged him that he would not command them to go out into the abyss. Now a herd of many swine was feeding there on the mountain. So they begged him that he would permit them to enter them, and he permitted them. Then the demons went out of the man and entered the swine. End quote. That's Luke chapter 8, verse 31 through 33. Josephus then describes how the demons.
I can't get some of this.
Put it back.
I'm thirsty.
Look, listen here, little girl. You keep stomping on my floor. I said go put it back. You wait till I'm done, or you won't get any at all. Go put it back. I'm gonna get her. Y'all heard her stomping? I'm gonna get her. I'm gonna go ahead and finish this. I'm gonna get her afterwards. Josephus then describes how the demons that left John had filled the countryside and infected another group. And now Vespasian sent Placidus against those that had fled from Gadara with 500 horsemen and 3,000 footmen, while he returned himself to Caesarea with the rest of the army. But as soon as these fugitives saw the horsemen that pursued them just upon their backs, and before they came close to a fight, they ran together to a certain village, which was called Bethanabris, where finding a great multitude of young men and arming them, partly by their own consent, partly by force, they rashly and suddenly assaulted Placidus and the troops that were with him. End quote. Wars of the Jews 4:8 and 4:19 through 4:21. All right. So we'll pause right here and we'll pick it up tomorrow with number 8, which is the herd ran violently. Okay. Page number. Okay. All right, beautiful people. It is Friday, September the 10th, 2021, day 256 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and prophets. Of the 3-year consecutive day count, it is day 925. We read Micah chapter 4, 5, and 6. And then we finished up chapter 4 in Caesar's Messiah, starting on page 101. And we ended today in chapter 5 on page 115. All right, beautiful people. That was something I wanted to share with y'all. I don't remember. I'm trying to remember it the whole time. Must not be too important. Or it'll come back to me at another time and I share it then. All right, y'all. So let's go ahead and pull up the blessing. I had to scroll through Facebook. So it's weird. Facebook, I don't know what's going on with Facebook, but if y'all are commenting over here, sometime I see it. I see y'all going out and coming back in, but all your comments won't show for some reason. I don't know what's going on with that. So I'm not sure if y'all did say something, somebody else made a comment, not popping up. That's why I scrolled through it real quick. I noticed it's been happening like the last week. So if y'all, and I'll respond to your comments clearly after the video is over. I'll let y'all know, hey, I'm just now seeing this comment, because I didn't see it during a live. So I'm not ignoring you. It's just for some reason they're not showing. I don't know. All right, y'all. The blessing is found in Numbers chapter 6, verses 22 through 27. Remember, the first 21 verses of chapter 6 is a Nazarite vow. Man or woman can take it, right? And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, saying, On this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, Yahuwah will kneel before us, presenting gifts, and will guard us with a hedge of protection. Yahuwah will illuminate the wholeness of his being towards us, bringing order, and he will provide us with love, sustenance, and friendship. Yahuwah will lift up his wholeness of being and look upon us, and he will set in place all we need to be whole and complete. And they shall put my name. Whose name? Yahuwah's name. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. All right, beautiful people. Let me double check, make sure I didn't miss any questions over on YouTube. Joy, how do you find me on Facebook? Give me a second. I'll post my link. You can just type in Murphy Tribe. It's the same over there, Murphy Tribe. Let me see, but I'll get the, hold on. Let me see if I post a link in here for y'all. Hold on, I'll get it to you. Murphy Tribe, okay. All right. Okay. Okay. It's me and my husband's page. So that's where you find it. You got it? Okay. There you go. Okay. All right, y'all. Am I on Twitter? I am, but not with this. Our business is on Twitter. So yeah, you won't really see this. I thought about doing it, but trying to keep all the social media together and then doing the social media and stuff for the businesses is too much right now. So no, you won't see this on Twitter, but you will see our business Twitters on Twitter. So, but yeah, can't stand Facebook. I know they be tripping sometimes too. All of them do. They all in cahoots together. All right, y'all. All right. So with that being said, I love y'all. And Tootie Baby ain't down here to end it, so I'm gonna end it today. I'll see y'all back here tomorrow. It's Saturday. Remember, we get to sleep in an extra 15 minutes, or I don't. I'm up anyway, right? So, but I see y'all here, 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Peace. Thanks for hanging out. Love y'all. Bye.